Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Richa Soni. I'm Assistant Professor of Food Science and Nutrition at Gujarat University, and today I'll be talking about food adulteration. Food adulteration is a devilish act against health and well-being. Food is one of the basic needs for every living being and is very important aspect for life. The health and productivity of population depends on the nature of food they consume and its wholesomeness in terms of nutritive value. So within the past few decades, food adulteration has become one of the intense issues related to food safety and standard. So what is adulteration? Adulteration of food is the act of degrading the food quality by incidental or maybe by intentional means through the addition of chemicals and extraneous matters. So, in a country like India, where there's a huge population to feed, and there is a lack of monitoring of what reaches to consumer, the act of adulteration isn't quite surprising. Items of daily consumption like grains or milks are found to be adulterated. So, if we talk about the numbers of complaints between June 2016 and February 2017, FSSAI has received as many as 1,722 complaints. So, what is food adulteration? Food adulteration is addition or subtraction of substance which adversely affect the purity and quality of food. So, the quality of food is lowered either by adding the inferior quality material or by extracting the valuable ingredient of the food. Now, food adulteration is done for selfish interest of food vendors for financial gains, and not only that adversely affect the health of the consumer, but it also result in wastage of food, because whatever food which is found adulterated will be discarded only. So it results in wastage of food also. So now, according to Food Safety and Food Safety and Standard Act 2006, a food is said to be adulterated if the article is sold by the vendor, it is not of a nature, substance, or quality demanded by the consumer. Or if the article contains any other substance which affects its quality, or if the article is processed in such a way that affects injuriously to the nature or the quality of the product. Or if any inferior or cheaper substance has been substituted wholly or partially, if any constituent of the food article has been wholly or partially abstracted, or if the article has been prepared, packed, and kept in insanitary conditions, if the article consists filthy, putted, or rotten or decomposed ingredient, and if somehow if it is unfit for human consumption, if the article is obtained from a diseased animal, if the article contains any poisonous or other ingredient which is injurious to health, if the article contains any food additive, may it be a coloring agent or a preservative or a stabilizer or a sweetening agent that are present in the food exceeding the prescribed limit, if the article contains any prohibited food additives or permitted food preservatives in excess the prescribed limit, and if the quality or the purity of the article falls below the standards given by the authority, or if the food is said to be adulterated if it fulfills these criteria. Then comes the misbranding of food. What is misbranding? Misbranding is also a part of food adulteration. So what is misbranding? Misbranding is an imitation of authentic brand or authentic food. If the article falsely states that it is a product of any country, it is misbranding. If the articles with false label claims in terms of composition of the article or the content, or in terms of maybe owner, then the article is said to be misbranded. And if the article contains any food additives which are not declared on the label, if it contains something and the manufacturers, they have not declared it on the label, then also it is considered as a misbranded food. Now, the types of adulteration. So what is types of adulteration? So adulteration can be categorized on the basis of type of contamination, on the basis of intention of the producers, and the processing methodology. So on the basis of type of contamination, adulteration can be divided into three categories: quantitative, qualitative, and informational. So what is quantitative adulteration? Quantitative adulteration where the quantity of the food product is compromised. And then comes the qualitative, which is the most common type. Qualitative food adulteration is what? Where the quality of the food product is degraded. And informational is misbranding, where the misinformation is given on the label or the false label claims are made. So that is informational adulteration. Then comes the type of adulteration on the basis of the intent of the producer. So, on the basis of intent of the producer, adulteration can be divided into further two categories: intentional and incidental. Intentional is due to the malintent of the producer or the manufacturer for the financial gains, or incidental is due to the cross contamination or the food contamination at any stage of the food processing, maybe food production, or maybe at the processing stage, or maybe at the storage or transportation stage. So that is incidental. Then comes the metallic contamination. What is metallic contamination? Metallic contamination may be due to the pesticide residues, or maybe the when the food comes in contact with the effluent from the food industrial waste. So there can be metallic contamination. Then packaging hazards. Packaging hazards are also come under the food adulteration category. Most common packaging hazards are polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride are the most common material, or these are the most common material used for flexible food packaging production. So these sometimes causes food contamination. Then comes methods of food adulteration. So what is method of food adulteration? So, and how do they do it? So food adulterants can be added to food article or the food product, maybe through mixing or substitution. They may be concealing the quality by hiding the trying to hide the food standards, or maybe by adding the decomposed food, or maybe by adding the the misbranding. So mixing of food adulterants can be mixed into the food in the form of clay, stone, pebbles, or marble chips in the intentional contamination. Then sometimes substitution is a method in which cheaper or inferior substance are being replaced wholly or partially with the good ones. Then concealing the quality. It is when the manufacturer try to hide the food standards, or adding caption of the qualitative food to low quality for selling. Then decomposed food. Sometimes, mainly in fruits and vegetables, this is common. So decomposed fruits are mixed with the good ones. Then the misbranding of food labels. So includes duplicate foodstuffs and changing of manufacturer and expiry dates that leads to misbranding of food. Then comes the age of adulteration. So the adulteration of food can take place at any stage in supply chain of the foodstuff. Agricultural inputs during the primary production, such as pesticides and veterinary drug residues, whose residue could be found in foods and are also considered as adulterants. And during both primary and secondary food processing, adulterants may enter the food chain. And besides these two primary and secondary food processing stage, adulterants may also find their way during the food distribution or food retailing and food catering categories. Then comes the health hazards of common adulterants. So what are the common adulterants and what are the health hazards? So arginine oil is commonly, it is used as adulterant in oils and fats. So which may lead to epidemic dropsy, glaucoma, or blindness or cardiac arrest. And pesticide residues are found in all types of food, and that may lead to chronic or acute poisoning, and which may damage the nerves and the vital organs. Then mineral oils are used as adulterant in edible oils or in the black pepper, so that can cause gastrointestinal disturbances like diarrhea and vomiting, and sometimes it may also be carcinogenic. Then methyl alcohol is added to alcoholic livers, which may lead to blurred vision or blindness and death. Lead chromate is commonly added in turmeric powder and mixed spices, which can lead to anemia and brain damages. Then medicinal yellow is also a common adulterant in turmeric and mixed spices, and which can cause tumors, can be carcinogenic, and can cause testicular degeneration in male. Then lead toxicity can also be there through water and some processed food stuff. So it can lead to lead poisoning, or it can cause food drop, anemia, and brain damages. Then kesri dal can be added to normal other pulses like gram or green tur dal. So it can cause letharsis, paralysis of legs. Then dung may be added to coriander powder, which can cause tetanus. And iron filling can also be adulterated in suji and tea leaves, and which may cause tetanus. Then this slide shows the chemical contaminants, common chemical contaminants, and the most commonly found in which food, and what are the health hazards. So as we discussed, mineral oil can be adulterated in edible oils, so it can be carcinogenic. Lead chromate it is most commonly found in turmeric, which can cause anemia and paralysis and brain damage. Methanol can be found in alcoholic liquors, and which can cause blindness. Then arsenic may be there in the fruits, and such as apple is sprayed over the lead arsenate, which can cause dizziness, chills, cramps, and paralysis. Barium, foods contaminated by rat poison. So arterial hypertension, muscular twitching, or conversion and cardiac disturbances may be the result of lead barium poisoning. Then cadmium can also be adulterated in the fruit juices and soft drinks. In when the fruit juices and soft drinks comes in contact with cadmium plated vessels or equipment, so it may lead to cadmium contamination. So it may lead to increased salivation, acute gastritis, and kidney damages, and sometimes prostate cancer. Then cobalt poisoning can also be there through water and liquor, that leads to cardiac insufficiency and myocardial failure. Lead, as we said, maybe in water or natural processed food, so lead poisoning will be there. Then copper, tin, and zinc can be found in processed food, which may lead to gastrointestinal disturbances such as vomiting and diarrhea and colic. And mercury can also be reaches to the consumer through the mercury fungicide, treated seeds or grains, or mercury contamination of fish, which may lead to brain damage or paralysis and death. And then food flavors beyond the safe limit can be found in all the processed food, flavored food, so which can which can be cause hepatic carcinoma. Then comes some more food adulterants, common adulterants found in the common food product, and what disease they can cause. So in the black pepper, mostly it is adulterated with dried papaya seeds, so which may lead to stomach irritation and liver damage, may be carcinogenic. Then arhar dal or tur dal, it is adulterated with yellow dye or kesri dal, which may lead to leprosy or paralysis. Coffee powder is adulterated with chicory powder, and which reduces its nutritional value. Then gram dal or chana dal is sometimes adulterated with kesri dal, clay, or stone, which can lead to stomach disorders or letharism. Then butter and pure desi ghee is adulterated with vanaspati or hydrogenated fat, vanaspati ghee, starch, which may lead to food poisoning. Milk is adulterated with starch, detergent, fatless or skimmed milk, or water, which also reduces the nutritive value, and stomach disorders can be the result. Then jeera is sometimes adulterated with alike seeds from wild plants or stones, so which may lead to stomach disorders. Chili powder is also adulterated with brick powder or artificial colors. So it can cause a stomach damage, stomach irritation, and liver damage. Sugar is also sometimes adulterated with chalk powder, white sand, or rava, so which may lead to gastrointestinal symptoms. And then cereals are adulterated with stone pieces, mud, and other seeds, which may lead to stomach disorders. Now the question comes, the typical supply chain of a food community. So what is a typical supply chain? So adulteration can take place at any stage, at the production or distribution, retailing or catering. So poor at the production stage, poor agricultural practices will lead to adulteration, the incidental adulteration. Then improper processing, improper storage or packaging can also lead to incidental adulteration, and intentional addition of adulterant can also be there at this stage only. Then when it reaches to distribution stage, poor storage condition will lead to incidental adulteration. Improper condition of transportation are also risk factor. And then intentional addition of adulterant can also be there at this stage also. Then comes retailing. At the retailing stage, poor hygiene and sanitary conditions leads to contamination of food or incidental adulteration. Then improper storage will also lead to the adulteration. And then intentional food adulteration or addition of adulterant can be there at any stage, may it be production stage, may it be distribution or retailing or the catering stage. So then when it reaches to catering, poor personal hygiene and poor hygiene and sanitary conditions may lead to cross-contamination, food contamination, and incidental adulteration. Improper storage will also lead to incidental adulteration, and then intentional addition of adulterants can also be there. Now the question is how to mitigate or how to address the food adulteration. So there must be a proper surveillance for food implementation, surveillance of the implementation of food laws. Whatever laws we have, they should be strictly implemented. Then there should be monitoring of the activities with periodical records of hazards regarding food adulteration. There should be a periodical training programs for senior officers, for food inspectors, for food analysts and food safety officers. There should also be consumer awareness programs organized by holding exhibitions or seminars, training programs and publishing pamphlets, etc. There should also be strict action against the punishment for those who are involved in the food adulteration. And there should also be help and support from the national and international NGOs for implementing the food laws. Then let's discuss about the food law. Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. So what is food safety? Food safety is an aim to bring safe and nutritious food to the plate of the consumer. So the prime objective of food is not fulfilled due to the danger of food adulteration. And through the implementation of FSS Act, there has been a nationwide campaign against the food adulteration, and penalization of have been declared who violates the food standards. So India has modernized its food law system by multi-level, multi-department to a single strong food law system by the establishment of Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. And why this act was implemented or established? To overcome the deficiencies in the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954, the FSSA specifically replaced 8 laws that were in operation before the enforcement of the FSSA. So what were those laws? Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, Fruit Product Order 1955, Meat Product Order 1973, Vegetable Oil Product Order 1947, Edible Oil Packaging Order 1998, Solvent Extracted Oil or de-oiled meal or edible flour Order 1967, Milk and Milk Product Order 1992, and Essential Commodity Act 1955. So these 8 laws, they were in operation before FSSA, and they're replaced by Food Safety and Standard Act in 2006. So the Act also aims to establish a single reference point for all matters related to food safety and standards. How? By moving multi-level, multi-departmental control to a single line of command. So to this, the Act establishes an independent statutory authority called Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. Okay, so this Food Safety and Standard Authority of India has its head office at Delhi, and the state food safety authorities enforces various provisions of this Food Safety and Standard Act. So the implementation of Food Safety and Standard Act envisaged regulation of the manufacturer, storage, distribution, sale, import of food to ensure the safety and wholesomeness. And so the line of control got shifted from multi-level to single level on the focus of self-compliance rather than a pure regulatory regime. So under this, FSSAI was established under the Act of Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. And why it was established, FSSAI was established, just because to laying down science-based standard for articles of food and to regulate their manufacture, their storage, their distribution, their sale and import to ensure the availability of safe and wholesome food for the human consumption. Now comes the main features of FSS Act 2006. So Food Safety and Standard Authority is a single reference point of food safety, standard and wholesome nutritious food regulation and enforcement. So what are the main features of the Act? That the same Act is applicable throughout India, providing uniform regime for providing food license, and it also offers an integrated response to strategic issues like novel food or genetically modified food or international trade. Licensing of food product got decentralized, and states have been empowered to issue the basic registration and state licenses. Effective transportation, transparent and accountable regulatory framework with well-defined functions and powers and responsibility of different food authorities and bodies and committees. So these are the main features. Okay, so regulation of import of food in the country, proper procedure for food recall, proper surveillance, enhance the network of food laboratories. These are the main features. Fast track disposal of cases, penalties and fines. Then it also consists of a domestic and international food policy measures, as well as ensure the safeguard to public health and consumer protection. And several consumers and FBO awareness programs are also undertaken under this FSS Act. So these are the main features of Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. Now, FSSAI has a campaign for consumer awareness regarding the food adulteration, and has given a resource which is called Detect Adulteration with Rapid Test. It is a manual developed by FSSAI, and which helps the consumers to detect food adulteration at home. So very simple tests are given in this FSSAI manual. So let's discuss how we simply can analyze and detect the food adulteration at home. So there are several methods are given to detect. So first of all, detection of water in milk. How we can detect whether water is there adulterated in milk or not. So it's very simple test. You just need to put a drop of milk on a polished stainless steel surface, and the pure milk, if it is not if water is not added in the milk, then it stays or it flows slowly, leaving a white trail behind like this. And if it is adulterated with water, the milk will flow immediately without leaving any trail or the mark. Then comes detection of detergent in the milk. So for this, you just need to take 5 to 10 ml of sample with an equal amount of water. Shake the contents thoroughly. If the milk is adulterated with the detergent, it forms dense leather. And if it is pure milk, leather will be formed, but there will be very thin foam due to agitation. Then comes detection of starch in milk and milk products, maybe khoya, chena, or paneer. So for this, you need to boil 2 to 3 ml of milk sample, or if you're taking khoya, chena, or paneer, then you need to add 5 ml of water. So you need to boil the sample, then cool it down, and then add 2 to 3 drops of tincture of iodine. So if it forms blue color, then it indicates there is a presence of starch. So as I said, in case of milk products, you can add some amount of water in it. Then another test is their detection of mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, and other starches in ghee and butter. So for this, you just need to take half teaspoon of ghee, butter in transparent glass bowl, and then add 2 to 3 drops of tincture of iodine. Formation of blue color indicates the presence of mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, and other starches. Then comes the detection of adulteration in oil and fats. So detection of other oils in coconut oil. So for this, you just need to take coconut oil in a transparent glass, place this glass in a refrigerator for 30 minutes, and we don't need to keep it in freezer. And after refrigeration, because saturated fats are more in the coconut oil, it will solidify, and other adulterant will form a layer, thin separate layer will be there on the top of the coconut oil. Then comes detection of TOCP, triorthocrysyl phosphate in oils and butter. So triorthocrysyl phosphate is a fire retardant and it causes acute poisoning and maybe polyneuropathy. So it's a very toxic substance. So for detecting this substance, you just need to take 2 ml of sample of oil, and then you have to add little amount of yellow butter, solid yellow butter to the oil. Immediate formation of yellow color indicates the presence of TOCP. And if it is not there, then red color will not be formed. Then how to detect proper winterization of refined oil. Winterization is a separation of triglyceride from the fats and oils. So it is a oil refinement technique. So for this, you just need to take 100 ml of sample oil in bottle and then cork it tightly and then seal with paraffin wax. The bottle is then completely submerged in a bucket of ice, and then the bucket is kept filled solidly with the ice and removing any water and then adding the ice if necessary. And after 5.5 hours, you can remove the bottle and check the oil. So if it is properly winterized, sample will be clearly, brilliant, clear liquid. Then comes the detection of adulteration in sugar and confectionery. So detection of sugar solution in honey, which is a very common adulterant. So for this, you need to take a transparent glass of water, add a drop of honey to the glass, and pure honey will not disperse in the water. It will settle down at the bottom. And whereas the adulterated honey, it will disperse in the water. So dispersion indicates the presence of added sugar in the honey. Then how we can detect the chalk powder in sugar or PT sugar or in jaggery. So for this, you need to take a transparent glass of water, dissolve 10 gram of sample in the water. So if if the chalk powder is added, it will it will not settle. If the sugar or, if the sugar, PT sugar, jaggery is mixed with the chalk, the adulterant will settle at the bottom. And here, nothing will be there at the bottom of the glass. Then detection of aluminium leaves in silver leaves. So for this, you need to take some portion of leaf and crush in between your 2 fingers, and then pure silver leaves will be crushed and crumble to the powder form. Whereas in case of aluminium leaves, it will break only smaller shreds. It will break into the smaller shade. It will not crush into as a powder. And then to further confirm the presence of aluminium leaves in the silver leaves, you can you can make it burn and with the help of a flame. So pure silver leaves will burn away completely, leaving glistening balls, whereas the aluminium leaves will turn into the gray ash. Then comes the detection of adulterants in food grains and products. So detection of extraneous matter like dust, pebble, stone, straw, wheat, saw wheat, and damaged grains, insect, rodent hair, and excreta. So for this, take a small quantity of sample. This is the visual test only. So take a small quantity of sample in a glass plate. Examine the impurities visually. So pure food grains will not have any such impurities, whereas the adulterated grains will, the impurities are can be observed visually. Then detection of dhatura in food grains. So for this, you need to take a small quantity of grains in a glass plate. Then examine the impurities visually. Dhatura seeds are flat with edges blackish and brown in color and can be separated by close examination. And impurities are observed visually in adulterated food grains. Then comes detection of excess bran in wheat flour. So for this, you need to take a transparent glass of water, sprinkle a spoon of wheat flour on the surface of the water. So pure wheat flour will not show any excess bran on the surface, whereas if it is adulterated with excess bran, so you can see the excess bran on the surface of the water. It will float on the surface of the water. Then detection of kesri dal in whole dal or these splits. So for this, you need to take this is also visual test. You need to take a small quantity of dal in a glass plate, examine the impurities visually. So what is the difference between these two dals? Kesri dal, which has the edges type appearance showing a slant on the surface, whereas, slant and square in surface can be separated by close examination. These are somewhat square in shape and they have a slant at the edges. And pure dal will not have any such impurities. Then detection of added color in the food grains. So for this, you need to take a transparent glass of water and you have to add 2 teaspoons of food grains and mix thoroughly. Pure grains will not leave any color and will settle down at the bottom of the glass. But adulterated food grains will immediately leave color in the water. Now, how can we detect turmeric in sailor rice? So for this, you need to take, a teaspoon of rice in a glass plate. Then you need to sprinkle a small amount of soaked lime, or which is commonly called as tuna. Then pure grain will not form red color, but if it is adulterated with turmeric, then it will form red color. Then comes detection of rhodamine B in ragi. So for this, you need to take a cotton ball soaked in water or maybe soaked in vegetable oil. If you're performing these two, conduct this test separately with water and oil. So rub the outer surface of the ragi. If cotton absorbs the color, it indicates the adulteration of rhodamine B for coloring the outer surface of the ragi. Then there are certain tests to detect the adulteration in spices, salt, and condiments. So for this, detection of foreign resin in asphoetida. So you need to burn small quantities of asphoetida in stainless steel spoon. Pure asphoetida will burn like camphor, and adulterated asphoetida will not produce bright flame, but it will not burn like camphor. It will burn, organic material will burn, but it will not burn like camphor. Then detection of foreign resin in asphoetida. So for this, you need to powder a gram of asphoetida and take it in a glass container. Then you need to add a teaspoon of water and then mix thoroughly. So milky white solution it shows the pure asphoetida, and whereas if if some foreign resin is there in the asphoetida, it will settle down. So no sediment represents pure asphoetida. It will dissolve completely and it will become milky white. Then detection of papaya seeds in black pepper. So for this, you need to add some amount of black pepper in a glass of water. Pure black pepper settle down at the glass of water, whereas the papaya seeds will float on the surface of the water. Now there is a test for detection of papaya seeds in black pepper. Another test is there. So for this, you need to spread spice on the white paper, sorry. Then observe the appearance of the sample using the magnifying glass. Black paper is brown in color and it has wrinkled surface, and it is a characteristic smell and pungent taste. Whereas papaya seeds have shrunken or a smooth surface and they're oval shaped, and they are greenish in color and maybe blackish brown in color, and they have very repulsive taste. Then detection of light blackberries in black pepper. So for this, you just need to press the berries with the help of finger. Light berries will break away easily, but the black pepper will not break. Then another test is there for detection of soapstone or other earthy matter in asphoetida. For this, you need to shake little portion of the sample and with water and allow to settle. Pure asphoetida will not leave any soapstone or any earthy matter at the bottom, whereas if it is adulterated, soapstone or earthy matter will settle down at the bottom of the glass. Then detection of artificial or water soluble synthetic color in chili powder. So you just need to, the same taste is there, test is there. You just need to sprinkle chili powder on the surface of the water taken in a glass tumbler. So the artificial colorant will immediately leave the streaks of color. Whereas it will leave little color, but it will float on the surface and it will not leave immediate streaks of the color. Then detection of sawdust in chili powder. So for this, you need to add sample to water. Then the sawdust will float on the surface while the chili powder is settled down at the bottom of the glass. Then detection of chalk in common salt. So we just need to stir a spoonful of the sample of salt in a glass of water. The presence of chalk will make solution white, whereas the pure common salt solution should be transparent. Then comes the detection of exhausted cloves in cloves. So for this, you need to take some water in the glass and put cloves. Genuine cloves will settle down at the bottom, and the exhausted cloves, and they will float on the surface of the water. Then how can we differentiate between the cassia bark and cinnamon? So for this, you need to take small quantities of cinnamon in a glass plate. If it is adulterated, you can identify by the close visual examination. Cassia bark that it comprises of several layers, and it has a rough outer surface and inner smooth surface, and it can be differentiated from the true cinnamon. Cinnamon bark is very thin. It can be rolled around a pencil or a pan, and it has a very distinct smell. Then how can we detect garden grass seed or any other colored seeds in cumin seeds? For this, you need to rub a small amount of cumin seed on your palms. So if your palm turns black, that means it is adulterated with colored grass seeds. Then comes detection of argemone seeds in the mustard seeds. So it is very common adulteration. Take a small quantity of mustard seeds in a glass plate. So you need to examine visually to the argemone seeds. Mustard seeds have a smooth surface, and when pressed, inside it is yellow in color. And when argemone seeds are pressed, they are white in color inside, and they have a grainy, rough surface. Detection of lead chromate, which is a very common adulterant in turmeric. So for this, you need to add a small quantity of whole turmeric in a transparent glass of water. Pure turmeric will not leave any color, whereas if it is adulterated or it is coated with color, then a bright yellow color, it will leave bright yellow colors, and it leaves color immediately. Then comes detection of artificial color in turmeric powder. For this, you need to add a teaspoon of turmeric powder in a glass of water. Natural turmeric powder leaves yellow white color while settled down, and the adulterated turmeric powder leaves a strong yellow color. So the natural leaves a very light yellow color, but if it is adulterated, it will leave strong bright yellow color while it settles down. Detection of sawdust and powdered bran in powdered spices. For this, you need to sprinkle powdered spice on the surface of the water. Pure spice will not leave any sawdust or powdered bran on the surface of the water. And if it is adulterated, then sawdust or powdered bran will float on the surface of the water. Then comes how can we differentiate between the common salt and the iodized salt. For this, we just need to cut a potato and then add salt and wait for a minute, then add 2 drops of lime juice on the surface. So if it is iodized salt, it will turn blue. And if it is common salt, uniodized one, then it will leave no color. Then detection of colored dried tendrils of maize cob in saffron. For this, genuine saffron is, it's not easily breakable, and but if it is adulterated with colored maize cob, it will break away easily. So artificial saffron is prepared by soaking maize cob in sugar and coloring it with coal tar. So for the detection, we just need to take a transparent glass of water and add to a small quantity of saffron. So if it is adulterated, the artificial color dissolves in water rapidly, and a bit of pure saffron, when it is allowed to dissolve in water, it continues to give the color as long as it lasts. Whereas in the case of adulterated one, it will give color immediately, but it will then stop giving any color. Whereas in the pure saffron, it continues to give some color as long as it lasts. Then comes how we can detect adulteration in fruits and vegetables. So how can we detect the malachite green in green vegetables like bitter gourd, green chilies, and others? For this, we need to do a cotton test. For this, we need a cotton piece soaked in water or maybe in oil. So we just have to rub the outer green surface of the small part of the green vegetable. If it turns green, that means the color is added. Addition of malachite green is there. Similarly, we can also detect the artificial green color on green peas. For this, we need to take a little amount of green peas in a transparent glass of water, and then we need to add water to it and then mix well, and let it stand for 1 hour. So if color separation, it indicates the presence of artificial color in the green peas. Then comes how can we detect the rhodamine B coating in sweet potato. For this, we'll do cotton test. We just need to soak the cotton in water or oil and rub the outer surface of the sweet potato. If your cotton absorbs the color, that means the usage of rhodamine B in the coloring of the outer surface of the sweet potato. Then there are a few tests for detecting adulterants in beverages. For detection of clay in coffee powder, we just need to take half teaspoon of coffee powder in a transparent glass of water. Then we have to stir it for a minute and then keep it aside for 5 minutes, and then we can observe the glass. So pure coffee powder will not leave any clay particle at the bottom. And if it is adulterated with clay, so clay particle will start to settle at the bottom of the glass. Then detection of chicory powder in the coffee powder. For this, we need a transparent glass of water, and you just need to add a teaspoon of coffee powder to the glass. Then coffee powder will float on the surface, and whereas if it is adulterated with chicory powder, it will start, it will begin to sink in the water. Then how can we detect the exhausted tea leaves in the genuine tea leaves? So for this, we need to take a small amount of tea leaves or tea dust on the center of the filter paper, and then just we need to add water drop by drop. So if the tea leaves are adulterated with the colored exhausted tea leaves, then the water will dissolve and the added color will leave streaks on the filter paper. Whereas if they are genuine, if genuine leaves are there, no color will be there on the filter paper. Then detection of iron filling in tea leaves. For this, you need to use magnet. Take a small quantity of tea leaves in a glass plate and move a magnet through the tea leaves. So pure tea leaves will not show any iron filling on the magnet. And if the tea leaves are adulterated with iron fillings, then it will magnet will be seen on the magnet. Tea leaves will be seen on iron fillings will be seen on the magnet. Then we also have a sensory evaluation quick test. Sensory evaluation test can be used using your senses. So these are the tests in which adulteration can be identified through the use of sensory organs. So the sense of taste, smell, touch, and sight are used to detect the adulteration. So for this, for example, in milk, synthetic milk gives a bitter aftertaste. And if the milk is adulterated with detergent, if you rub it between your fingers, it will give you soapy feeling. And similarly for black pepper coated with mineral oil, if you smell it, it will give you kerosene-like smell. And for chili powder, so if we take a teaspoon of chili powder in a glass of water and then examine the residue, so when the residue is rubbed between your fingers, you will feel grittiness if it is adulterated with brick powder. And if when you if you feel if you rub it, residue is rubbed in between the fingers, and if you feel it soapy and smooth, that means soapstone is added to the chili powder. Similarly, we have some sensory tests for sugar also. You just need to rub the sugar in your palm and smell. If it is adulterated with urea, it will give the smell of ammonia. And you can also dissolve the small amount of sugar in water, and if adulterated with urea, it will give smell of ammonia. Then for atta also, when the dough is prepared with the resultant atta, less water is needed because more fiber is there. And if the normal taste of the normal atta will be sweetish, and if the atta is adulterated with resultant atta, then the taste of chapatis will be tasteless. So this is all about the adulteration, different types of adulteration, simple tests to detect the adulteration, and what are the laws related to food safety. Now the question comes, how food adulteration can be stopped or how it can be reduced. So see, the detection of food adulteration is only the one side of the coin, and it must be made sure that the sources of food adulteration are also analyzed, identified, and penalized. So, what are the ways to prevent food adulteration? The major problem seen in this sector is it is related to the government, it is related to the consumers, and it is related to the food vendors also. So what are the possible remedies? So we can improve the storage facilities, we can improve. One of the biggest problems seen in the food grains, legumes, or spices is the insect infestations. So maybe due to the humidity, maybe due to the unhygienic conditions of the storehouses. So we need to closely monitoring the storage conditions of the food grains by the professional individuals. And there is also a scope to improve the quantity of food grains by keeping the track in the incoming and outgoing sample along with their dates. Like there should be a first in, first out approach can be applied for the improving the quality of food grain storage. Additional care must also be must also be given to check that the insect infested grain from the feed should not reach to the storehouse. So if it is already insect infested, it should not reach to the storehouse, and because it can be a threat to the healthy grain also. So during the months of monsoon and in areas where the high humidity is there, so extra care must be taken care for the food grains and should prevent from the spoilage. Then what can be done? Improved handling practices can also be there. For the handlers have to be well trained on how to handle the grains and how to handle the food, and to prevent prevent the food from damage or quality loss. So prevention of addition of extraneous matter, other oils, rice, starch, and other substances, or for monetary gains by selling cheaper quality food at a higher price, or maybe economically motivated food adulteration is widespread in our country. So how can we stop that? So this can be handled in a threefold technique, and there should be joint efforts between the consumer, food vendors, and the government. So first, the consumer should be encouraged to keep an eye on the food they are buying or they're consuming. So as FSSAI has developed Dart book, so similar, the Dart book must be popularized among the public through the advertisement, and the housewives can be motivated to conduct these tests. The public must be taught to the slightest of cases of food adulteration they may encounter. Then So, training of food vendors should be there on how to handle the food and how to prevent the food adulteration. Then, adulteration awareness cell can also be there for training should be given to the food vendors and to educate them about the ill effects of adulterated food. And we should also inform them about the penalties that they may have to pay if they found guilty, and to encourage them to carry out the fair trade practices. And then the government can also open the adulteration awareness cells where the people can report the cases of food adulteration directly, and the government can also conduct raids or sudden visits to the godown or places where the food is stored, or as to check if the conditions are suitable or not. Then random sampling of food from different vendors should also be analyzed, and if found adulterated, strict action must be taken against them. Then the introduction of newer technologies for detection of food adulteration should also be there. Food apps should also be developed such that consumer can easily report their cases of food adulteration. And newer machines can also be developed to detect the level of food adulteration in different food items. For example, cashier scanner is which instantly detects urea, detergent, liquid soap, and boric acid, caustic soda. It is developed by CSIR. So such improved machinery which helps the efficient detection of food adulterations. So we should work on those things. Then development of well-developed laboratories with developed equipment for carrying out the advanced detection of food adulteration should be there. And we should also encourage food vendors who are found to be fair. So the food vendors who sell the good quality product must be rewarded in various ways so that the others get motivated, and they also sell good quality products. Then positive motivation can act as better than penalties and penalization and prosecutions. So education of food vendors and education of all the middlemen must be there. They must be given training and they're told about the ill effects of adulteration. And then they must be made aware about the adulterated food can harm their own family. Then what are the key points? So key points are that legislation or the rules or the law and government cannot alone take on the problem. So corporate social responsibility and the society at large needs to work towards its elimination. So the education and the regulation, these two things go hand in hand. They should go parallel. So awareness, education, giving training to the food vendors, giving training to the food business operators, and giving training to the middleman is as important as the food policies or food safety and standard act. So education and regulation should go hand in hand. Then prevention of food adulteration prevents food wastage, because whatever amount is adulterated, it is found adulterated, it needs to be discarded. So if we can prevent food adulteration, we can very well prevent food wastage also. And more emphasis should be given on the digitalization and improve the technology that can revolutionize the present scenario of food safety and food security. These are the references which I have used in this presentation. So with this, I would like to end this session, and I'm very, thank you very much for the patient hearing. Say no to adulterated food.